What is up, people? It is me, Monster15, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a different video, but it's still going to be connected to all of my figure reviews. And today, we are going to be starting something that, as long as I'm still doing YouTube for however long for a hobby, we'll be doing these lists. Again, however long I'm able to still do this as a hobby, because this takes a lot of time. A lot of people don't know how much time it exactly takes to make YouTube videos and stuff like that. It's actually crazy just being a one-man job, right? And so when it comes to this list, today we are going to be talking about the top 10 figures that I reviewed this year. Now this goes from SH Figure Arts, SH Monster Arts to Transformers. Whatever I reviewed this year is all game for this list. And when it comes to this list, I'll throw out a disclaimer, is that the two metrics that I'll be using here are my personal biases as well as the objectivity of how good said figure is overall. And so there are going to be figures that are going to be above others, that are going to be below others, that you may think are better than the other, right? So if there's a figure higher in the list, closer to number one, that you think is better than the figure below the list, it might be objectively better, but my personal bias might end up going into that. And so I just want to throw out that disclaimer so that you guys know that it is completely my list and that you can feel free to disagree, have your own opinions. I'd love to hear your guys' favorite figures that you bought or that of mine that I reviewed this year, stuff like that. So leave that in the comments below and be awesome to foster some cool discussion about figure collecting. Think it's pretty cool, right? All of us like to have like these, representations of these characters that we saw on our TV screens or on our video games in physical form. And I'm one of those people who enjoys that, obviously. And so I'd love to hear your favorite figures that you bought or were released or that, something along those lines this year that you really enjoyed. And so without further ado, guys, I'm going to stop blabbering and we'll get right into the list. Alrighty, folks, at number 10, we have the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class Infernac Universe Magnius. And when it comes to Magnius, the reason I really like this guy is because ever since I was a kid, I mentioned this in the Magnius review, I've always had a fascination for stones and rocks, which is why when if you know me, you know my favorite types of Pokemon are Rock, Steel, and Ground, and that was stemming from my childhood. And essentially, when I was a kid, I mentioned this too in the Magnius review, that I had one of those, like, rock digging kits that you can get for kids, and so I loved, just toiling away, using a hammer or whatever tools I needed to dig through and get these cool, rocks that you could display and stuff like that. They look really nice, even though they were completely fake of whatever they were supposed to represent. I still really like them. And so Magnius, being a part of this new Armorizer line that they were doing for Legacy United, I think was a great way to do it, especially, referencing the Rock Lords, essentially. And this guy being Obsidian, there's a character in League of Legends, if you guys know him, if you guys know that game, Malphite. He is a big rock golem, and essentially he's got a skin called Obsidian Malphite, so his skin is like, like an alternate color, if you're not super familiar with that. I'm not sure how many people. I assume most of you are familiar with what a skin in the game is, but just in case, he has a different color variation of him called Obsidian Malphite, where he looks like Obsidian. And so, Magnius reminded me a lot of Obsidian Malphite, and reminded me a lot just Obsidian in general, because that's what it looks like to me. And so I really like his color scheme. The details are cool, and obviously the play value is there, being able to take all those parts off of him and attach him to other Transformers and stuff like that, use them as weapons or armor or what have you. And also I just like how easy he is to transform, how easy he is for me to do like a comparison. And so as you've seen in my videos, he's sort of become the de facto comparison figure that I have, because he's just perfect. I can just reach behind me, grab him off my shelf, transform him right quick, and get some solid comparisons out of it. Again, I like the details, like the articulation. The only reason he's at the bottom of the list, and the major reason, is because if you look at all the figures above him, they're all just more exciting. They'll have a little more flair. They'll have a little more, like, things behind them. For me, Magnius is more of, I like rocks. They're pretty cool. And I think that, having a Transformer that is made of rocks is pretty cool. And again, becoming the de facto comparison for my channel so far is something else that I'm going to throw on here. But yeah, Magnius, everybody. Moving on to number 9, we have the SH Monster Arts Godzilla from 1972, or really just those string of movies, Godzilla vs. Gigan, Godzilla vs. Megalon, right? And the reason I'm putting this on the list is, despite the fact that he comes with not too many accessories, he does come with that little, messed up face when Gigan chops him in the face, right? He doesn't come with an atomic breath part. I just love what Gigan and this figure are continuing, right? We have, Gigan, we got we got Gigan, we have Godzilla now from the same movie. We obviously just got Jet Jaguar very recently, and obviously soon, more than likely, we're going to be getting Megalon, and I hope maybe at some point Titanosaurus as well. But yeah, Megalon's obviously going to be a big one in this. I really am excited if they do decide to make a Megalon. I was really excited. They recently announced, when I'm recording this, an Anguirus figure. I'm so excited for that. But off topic here, we're talking about this Godzilla figure. The reason I'm putting this on the list is because he greatly he wonderfully represents the character that we saw for this Godzilla design in these string of movies, and I just love these movies because they're absolutely ridiculous. Like, let's get that out of the way. These movies are completely ridiculous. Godzilla breaking the fourth wall, thumbs-upping the camera, doing these gravity-defying drop kicks, tucking in his arms and using his atomic breath to fly, him shaking hands with Jet Jaguar. Like, it's completely ridiculous. If you haven't seen Godzilla vs. Gigan and Godzilla vs. Megalon, I wholeheartedly recommend you go and watch those just for funsies, because they're hilariously ridiculous, but that's why I love them. And so he's on this list mainly because he represents that character wonderfully, and I can recreate those scenes if I wish to do so. And talking about the figure himself, I mean, let's get this straight out of the way with SH Monsters for the most part. Not all the time do they get this right, but they got the sculpt, they got the paint, they got everything pretty right with this guy. Articulation's pretty solid for an SH Monsters figure. Like, there's nothing really to complain about it. It's really just that lack of accessories that holds this guy back from being higher on the list. Alrighty, at number 8, we have Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class G1 Universe Gears, and this is a figure I was looking forward to a lot, and just due to the fact that one of the episodes I watched a lot as a kid was Changing Gears. Like I told you guys, I got a Season 2 box set of, the G1 Transformers, and so that's the Transformers I personally grew up because it was gifted to me by an older cousin, and so one of the first, I believe the first episode of Season 2 is Changing Gears, and so what I really like about this figure is sort of how irregular he is, but how right they were able to get it. Now, the worst part about this figure, and what holds it back from being higher on the list, is certainly that vehicle mode could be a little bit better. The wheels kind of feel a little bit loose. The truck, in my opinion, could be a little bit lower than it actually is. It kind of feels weird for it to be like on stilts, essentially. But other than that, the transformation is incredibly simple, but also very rewarding. And then also when you get him to his robot mode, despite his irregular head shape, they are able to knock in some really good articulation. Despite the head not being the craziest when it comes to articulation, the fact that this guy has wrist swivels, bicep swivels, a little more than 90 at the elbow, he has some really wide range with his legs as well, waist articulation. For a mini-bot, this guy is incredibly well articulated. He also has all the accessories he needs. He's got a gun, and in addition to that, he also has his his chest can be opened when in the episode Megatron removes his personality chip to get him to build the essentially the Star Harvester, and so, by the way, that's totally where they got the Star Harvester from Revenge of the Fallen from this episode. But the fact that they added that accessory and feature into him is also really cool. Just gives him that little extra flair, just like they added the bird for Beachcomber as well, like the little bird that he got. So very, very cool stuff. Very happy. The reason he's not higher on the list is because there's nothing overly exciting, as well as that vehicle mode, right? So Gears, everybody. Alright, at number 7, we have Transformers Legacy United Prime Universe Deluxe Class Cliff Jumper from the 4-pack. Now, that 4-pack, in my opinion, is very much worth getting, in my opinion, especially if you're looking for those molds. But the reason that Cliff Jumper is on here is because despite the fact that he is a remold and a retool, obviously Chase doesn't appeal to a huge range of people. But what I heard is that the Chase figure was absolutely awesome. He felt solid, the transformation was really good, his accessories were cool, and then he has some pretty solid articulation. Overall, a really good figure. And so I remember that Sam, I believe, had mentioned, he was the designer that mentioned that they were going to take his mold and reuse it for something, and at the time they couldn't reveal what that was, and a lot of people, including myself, had predicted it looks like Prime Universe Cliff Jumper, Prime Cliff Jumper, because the muscle car, police car alt mode was very much akin and very close to Cliff Jumper's muscle car alt mode in Transformers Prime. And lo and behold, a lot of us were correct. And so to see this guy, the mold fits perfect for him. Although it's not one-to-one to the actual show, they pretty much got all of the major details spot on, and that's what I like about this. Very similar to what they did with Dreadwing as well as Skyquake, is they were able to take the essence of what make Cliffjumper recognizable in the Transformers Prime cartoon and translate it into a more modernized version. While not being the exact same one-to-one screen to toy, at the very least he still retains like 90 to 80% of what made him Cliffjumper in terms of his looks and his feel. And so I was really happy with that. The only thing that irked me a little bit is that I do understand why they didn't, but at the same time I wish they added a couple more of the hook accessories and stuff like that, and the gun accessories, so that you could get Cliffjumper with his triple blasters on both hands. But other than that, really, really solid figure, great articulation, great look, great paint, solid transformation. Another reason that the reason that this guy's in higher on the list is mainly because the other figures are either more exciting to me personally or just more exciting in general. And so let's move on. At number 6, guys, we have Transformers Legacy United Voyager class Cybertron Universe Starscream. Now, I was having a hard time between choosing Starscream and Hotshot, and you'll see in an honorable mentions part, Hotshot is definitely an honorable mention. I know I spoiled that already, but we'll talk about why he's an honorable mention. But I think Starscream was just very well done for the most part. The only major issue I have with Starscream is that his joints can be a bit loose at times, specifically in like his arms. I feel a lot of those joints are a little bit loose, and also pegging his giant parts of his plane onto his arms can also be a bit of a pain sometimes. They're pretty loose and they like to get out rather often. But when we're looking at this guy from another standpoint, the vehicle mode looks fantastic. The transformation is not super simple, but not overly frustrating and very rewarding as well. And then finally we also get to the robot mode, which is an absolute smash hit. You have his blades that you can fold out. We come with the cyber key, and he has a gun. The head sculpt is absolutely gorgeous, and the paint is very accurate to the show. Just so you guys know how much I love this show, when I was a kid, and I still have it to this very day, I did buy a full DVD box set of all of Transformers Cybertron, and I grew up watching it like before school type thing. Like that's the type of like my love for Transformers Cybertron as a whole. And so really cool to see this figure, really awesome. I can't wait for them to make more Transformers Cybertron stuff. And so when it comes to this figure, absolutely deserves a spot on this list in my opinion. And so yeah, just like Cliffjumper, it's just the other figures in my opinion either were more exciting or just a little more well done. Really, for this guy, it's those joints that really hold this guy back, and sort of the frustration of pegging things in sometimes. It gets really annoying for my copy. Alrighty, folks, at number 5, we have SH Figuarts Full Power Frieza. And when it comes to Frieza, this is a really solid figure, and I'm really happy with it. Let's talk about it. First off, I think it represents Frieza's full power model beautifully. I think it's really, really good. I think when you see this is full power Frieza, and there's no real wrong thing with the proportions of this thing. I also really love the paint here. I think they did awesome with the shading on it, because basically, Frieza in Dragon Ball Z had like this sort of turquoise aura, like turquoise key, excuse me, to his turquoise key, and so when it comes to the shading, what they did is that like in between his like pecs, on like the musculature, he has like this lightly brushed turquoise stuff to represent that key, and I think that was really, really cool that they did that. And also he comes with a wide slew of accessories. He comes with some extra hands, he gets his death saucers, he gets really good faces. Like overall, when it comes to the accessories they gave this guy, I think they were really, really cool, and I think they absolutely nailed the sculpts and stuff like that, especially for the faces. The faces I think look really, really good, and I think they chose some fantastic faces. And also, another reason I love this figure is because after we got the 3.0 Goku, having essentially, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, I personally think this, Frieza being Goku's greatest enemy ever in Dragon Ball Z, to have both of them now side by side, to be able to pose them and display them, wanting to kill each other like they did in the show, is really, really cool. And so I think it was well done. And the last thing I'm going to say about this figure that the reason why I put it up here is because I think it improved upon an issue that the that the normal Frieza, Final Form Frieza had, and that was with normal Final Form Frieza, all the different iterations that they had of it, his tail was super long, and so he was pretty back heavy, and he would fall rather often. When it comes to this version, half of his tail is cut off, and thus it sort of eliminates that almost completely. Not all the way, but for the most part, that the worry of him being back heavy is rather eliminated here. Not fully, but really, really good that they were able to do that. And so I was very happy to know that this guy can pose much better than like the regular final form Frieza, just due to the fact of that tail not being as big of a factor in terms of making him back heavy. So yeah, Frieza, everybody. Alrighty, at number 4, we have Transformers Reactivate. You guys probably, I don't know if you remember it. Deluxe Class Bumblebee from the 2-pack with Starscream. Now, the reason this is on this list is because I think that they did an amazing job of redesigning Bumblebee in a new light, giving us essentially Bumblebee as a dune buggy, which is like a perfect, it's very much a perfect different alt mode for him. So for those of you who don't know, the original dune buggy that was designed was essentially taking the floor pan of a beetle and then just putting a beach buggy body on top of it. And so I had the beach buggy, dune buggy, like, you know, a post-apocalyptic version as Bumblebee's new alt mode is really, really cool. It just fits perfectly. In addition to that, I just really like how this figure feels and looks. His articulation's pretty solid. Transformation isn't frustrating. In addition to that, the way that you store his teeny tiny little guns, the fact that you can store them in like the bottom of his forearms without them actually being mega loose and then getting knocked out every 3 seconds is an absolute smash hit for me. Overall, just a really, really good figure and an incredible redesign for a figure, which is why he's high on this list. It's because I just think that they did such a good job with giving us a new design for Bumblebee. And I know that the figure is just representing the design of what the designers for the game did, but at the same time, I think that the figure is just very much well represents what we saw, you know, in some of the leaked footage or some of the footage that we saw, some of the images that we saw of Bumblebee. It's really, really cool, and I'm very, very happy that I have this Bumblebee in my collection, because I think he can absolutely fit for, like, a classics kind of type display as well, if you're not looking to use him for the reactivate stuff. Alrighty, guys, at number 3, we're getting to the top 3. This is pretty wild. The Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Concept Art Leader Class Megatron. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The alt modes are completely, like, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Where this guy shines is that robot mode. Now, I know he's a Transformer. I totally get that, and the alt modes mean a lot here. But in my opinion, this is one of those Transformers where I'm happy that they obviously introduced the transformation part of it, right? But the robot mode just takes it all home for me. This is a fantastic design that I don't know if we would have ever been able to see if it wasn't for them releasing this concept art line for Studio Series, especially for the Bumblebee movie. It's just that this is such a good representation of what would have been a live-action version of Megatron, and I think the design is absolutely glorious. Like, if you think about it, if they didn't go the direction they did, specifically Michael Bay did with the Bayformer films with that, this is what I would absolutely think would be a great modern live-action take on a redesign for G1 Megatron. Like, let's get that out of the way. So, talking about the actual figure, paint's really good. Articulation's really solid. You know, alt modes, hit or miss. Whatever. Fusion Cannon looks great. It's just that you can get this guy in so many cool poses that the fact that his alt modes really are just kind of him being crushed really doesn't matter in my opinion. Like, I just think that the robot mode is just so good that the rest of the figure, despite maybe not being your cup of tea, I think it would just be waved off because of how good that robot mode is. Now, you can feel free to disagree with that. I just really love this figure, and to have him on display with the other Bumblebee stuff, so Skycracker, you know, Skycracker, Skycracker, oh man, Skywarp, Thundercracker, and Starscream. That's great. As well as Shockwave and Soundwave, they just look like a perfect team together. And as we're getting, you know, Rumble and Frenzy, we have Ravage as well. Just really completes everything. So, when it comes to Megatron, really, really just great robot mode is what takes this home for me. And that's why he's number 3 on the list, is that design is just so good. Alrighty, folks, at number 2, we have Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Swoop. And this, in my opinion, just like the reviewer, that toy guy said, I definitely reference his reviews a fair bit, because I think he's a very good Transformers reviewer and an awesome dude in the community. It's really, really cool. When it comes to Swoop here, the major thing with this guy is I just think he's well done in pretty much every aspect. When it comes to the paint, transformation, alt mode, and robot mode looks and feel, this guy feels the part. I think what they did, just like that toy guy said, is that they were able to essentially find all the mistakes and the good things that they had with all of the previous Dinobot releases and culminate that all into this one final release, completing the team. And for me, the big reason that this guy is high on the list is because this is the first time I've ever been able to complete a full set of G1 Dinobots accurate to the G1 show, and that makes me so happy because I love dinosaurs, and also I love Transformers, and so to have the full team in full swing is just absolutely amazing. I am so happy that we were able to get all of these figures, and Swoop being the last one was done beautifully. Head sculpt looks great, paint looks great, transformation is super simple, but it didn't need to be complicated in the first place. Accessories are accessories are really good here, and that fact they were able to also give Grimlock's other sword, or his sword in general, was also a nice gesture to have one figure have an accessory for a figure they will more than likely pair this guy up with. And so overall, just really, really well done, and fulfills a big spot in my heart that I've had for a very long time of not being able to have a full set of G1 Dinobots. Alrighty guys, and before we get into number 1, we'll quickly rapid fire through the honorable mentions. SS86 Bumblebee. When it comes to this, really, really good. I loved it. It's just, I totally understand that there's some proportional things, specifically with his face, that aren't the greatest. And I just think that the other figures that I have on the list were just a bit better or have more personal, worth to me. Even though this is a great figure, I wanted to put it on the list. I just couldn't find the place for it. Legacy United, animated Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, as well as Motormaster. All of them represent their characters beautifully, while also retaining a modernized look, while also, again, keeping that animation look to them. Just like the Cliffjumper, Dreadwing, and Skyquake, they were able to take these characters, make them recognizable, and keep everything that was recognizable about them while giving us a more modernized take on them, and I think they all look great for that. Articulation's good, accessories are solid. Overall, when it comes to these 3 figures, they're really, really good. Just couldn't find them to put them on the list because animated really doesn't touch my heart as much as a lot of people, and that's totally like if you love animated, all the power to you. Missing Link, CO2. I just couldn't justify it with the price. It's really, really good. Just don't get me wrong. The articulation's nice. It comes with all the accessories a G1 Prime should, but it's just that price. It's a very expensive figure. If I'm honest, just go grab that mainline one for Legacy United that they released in the last wave. That'll be much more worth your money. MS02 TC Light of Peace, so the toy color version of Light of Peace, really, really good. It's just, for me, there's sometimes, when you're handling a third-party figure that you don't want to break something, and for me, sometimes when I'm transforming this guy, it feels like I'm going to end up breaking something, even though I'm being as careful as possible, and so even though I really like it, it's a great representation of Optimus Prime, and certainly a budget-friendly version of Masterpiece 44 Optimus Prime. I still, that third partiness of it just can't escape me when I'm transforming it. And so there's some parts of it that feel really scary to transform and stuff like that, because I don't want to break it, but it feels like it's going to break. Haya Toys Muto PX. Really good. Good articulation, great sculpt, great paint. Lack of accessories is what holds this thing back. It literally has nothing. Literally nothing. To get maybe one of the bombs that they were going to use as an accessory, or a version of the egg sacs that she had, right, when she was laying her eggs, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson ends up blowing them all up. That egg sac little area would have been cool to have, as a little accessory. Just the lack of accessories is what prevents this thing from being on this list at all. SH Figuarts Goku 3.0. It's basically just as good as Frieza. The only reason I decided to put Frieza over Goku is because I think they did the paint on Frieza better, because when you're looking at this Goku in person, despite the fact that the articulation's good, accessory is good, paint is, the face sculpts are really, really good, his chest and his arms have completely different colored plastics. And you only really see that with Transformers, at least lately, and so to have that on an SH Figuarts really hurts. And it's kind of even though at first glance, you wouldn't see it. I'm looking at it on my shelf right now. You can absolutely see it, and that's a bit of a shame. But otherwise, it's a really great figure. It's just that chest being a completely different color to the arms really stands out to you, especially once you notice it. Finally, the last figure we're going to give a shout out to, in terms of an honorable mention, as I mentioned before, Transformers Legacy United Cybertron Universe Hotshot. Great figure overall. I just think that some of the details were done wrong. The wings should be clear, or at least they should be yellow. And the front of the car looks a bit funky to me, especially with the mismatched paint and stuff like that. Overall, it's still a really good figure. It's just there are a couple details here and there that just prevented it from me from being on this list, despite the fact that I really, really did love the figure. I think they did a great job with, reinventing the transformation a bit, giving it a little more, complexity than it had with the original toy and the original one. I think that the articulation was good. Accessories were also really good. The fact that it gets a Cyber Planet Key 2 with the speed, the Velocitron one, really, really cool stuff. Just again, it's just those small details that held it back, in my opinion, from being on this list. And with all of the honorable mentions out of the way, I'm sure that more than likely it's very easy to tell what my favorite figure I reviewed this year was, and let's do it. Transformers Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime is your #1 pick from me for 2024 of the figures that I reviewed. It's just, this is the best mainline Optimus Prime we have ever gotten. It is extremely accurate to the show. Articulation is beyond belief. It is absolutely amazing. Despite the fact that the only issue I have with this figure is really the compression of his backpack. It's a bit chunky. Other than that, paint looks absolutely gorgeous. The transformation, despite not being complex, despite not being simple at all, it's pretty complex. It's not frustrating at all. Once you get into the rhythm of it, it's pretty easy to transform. And he comes with absolutely everything an Optimus Prime needs. He comes with his trailer, a new trailer, by the way, comes with roller, comes with his Ion Blaster, his Energon Axe, he has the Matrix of Leadership in his chest. Everything is just there. Everything is extremely well done. And the new sizing also makes me excited because more than likely we will get a Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader or Commander Class Megatron because this Optimus Prime is bigger than the Earthrise one, which many people have been using in their collections. And obviously, when it comes to Megatron versus Optimus Prime, Megatron has always been probably like half a head taller than Optimus Prime. So to be able to get a new Megatron, which I'm hoping that given the new Optimus Prime we will get, this is really exciting. And so overall, really, really just absolute smash hit of a figure. I find very little to no faults in SS86 Optimus Prime, and it's just an absolute smash hit in terms of a figure. And in addition to that, the box art's also really cool. And the fact that they advertised it and gave us accessories with like the Megatron must be stopped, you got the touch, you got the power, like that accessory, the pose that he hit before that, like it's all just really, really well done. And so guys, that is my top 10 list for all of the figures that I reviewed this year in 2024. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my list. Love to hear your thoughts on your favorite figures and stuff like that, as I mentioned earlier. And just a little last thing to say, all of the reviews for all of these figures will be linked in the description below, including the honorable mentions. They'll all be linked down below. They will be further below than like my thank you for the support thing, so that you don't see it right away as soon as you open the description. So I'm sorry that I didn't mention this at the beginning of the video, but yeah, I just genuinely just forgot. And so if you got spoiled by it, I apologize for that, but I hope you still stuck around and watch the video so you could hear my reasonings and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, really, really good stuff, and I'm just happy to get out a new type of video for you guys. And so with that all out of the way, I think that is it for the list. And so I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also follow me on the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.